Hey everyone, welcome to Storybound. Before we get started, I should probably warn you, I'm completely new to Minecraft on keyboard and mouse, so if my gameplay looks a little rough, just bear with me. The plan for this channel is pretty simple. Every episode I'm going to keep playing in the same survival world while reading different kinds of creepy stories. Hopefully over time we'll build something really cool together. Tonight's theme is Stalker stories, so if you're listening in bed, maybe check that your bedroom door is closed, turn the lights down, get comfortable, grab a snack, and last thing is I'm not AI, so if you don't like an AI voice, this channel is for you. Let's get into the first story. Story 1. The Man in the Parking Lot. This happened about 3 years ago, and even now I still think about it every time I leave work after dark. At the time, I was working the closing shift at a grocery store. Nothing exciting ever happened. I'd clock out around 11 at night, walk across the parking lot, drive home, and do it all over again the next day. One Thursday night, I walked outside and noticed a man sitting in an old silver sedan, parked a few spaces away from my car. His headlights were off, the engine wasn't running. He was just sitting there. I didn't think much of it. People wait for rides all the time. I got in my car and drove home. The next night, he was there again. Same parking space, same silver sedan, same person. This time, as I unlocked my car, I glanced over. He was looking directly at me. Not at his phone, not around the parking lot, at me. I looked away, started my car, and left. By the third night, it stopped feeling like a coincidence. He was there before I got off work. He had stayed till I left. My coworkers joked that maybe he had a crush on me. I laughed at them, but something about the way he stared never felt normal. The following week, things got much worse. I stopped for gas on the way home. While I was filling my tank, I noticed that some silver sedan pulled into the parking lot. My stomach immediately dropped. There was 8 open pumps. He pulled into the one directly behind me. He didn't get out. He just sat there, watching. I finished pumping my gas as quickly as I could and got back into my car. Instead of driving home, I made 3 random turns through nearby neighborhoods. Left, right, left again. Every single turn, he followed. That's when I knew this wasn't in my head. Someone was following me. I remembered something my dad told me years earlier. If you ever think someone is following you, don't drive home. So instead of turning toward my apartment, I drove straight to the local police station. The moment I turned into the parking lot, the silver sedan slowed down. It stopped at the entrance, waited for a few turns, then made a U-turn, and disappeared. I sat there shaking for nearly 10 minutes before going inside to tell the officer exactly what happened. They took my statement, but without a license plate, there wasn't much they could do. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, I walked outside my apartment around noon to grab something from my car. Parked across the street was the same silver sedan. This time the driver's seat was empty. My heart started racing. I looked around the parking lot. Nothing. I hurried back inside and locked every single door. About an hour later, someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. I looked through the peephole. No one. I waited another 3 knocks. Still no one. I called my neighbor and asked if they'd seen anyone outside. They looked through the window and said, "There's a guy walking back toward a silver car." I never answered the door. I called the police again. By the time they arrived, the car was gone. After that day, I started leaving work with coworkers. I changed the route I drove home. I even transferred to another store across town. And eventually, I stopped seeing the silver sedan. To this day, I have no idea who the man was or what would have happened if I hadn't driven straight home that night. If I had driven straight home instead of going to the police station. And that's the end of story 1, guys. Let me know if you like that one, and let's move on to the next one. Story 2. Someone was inside my apartment. This happened when I was 23 and living alone for the first time. My apartment wasn't anything special. It was a small one-bedroom on the second floor of an older building. It wasn't in a bad neighborhood. It wasn't exactly a great one either, though. For the first few months, everything was completely normal. I'd leave for work around 8 every morning, get home around 5, make dinner, watch some TV, then head to bed. Nothing unusual ever happened, until Monday afternoon. I got home from work and immediately noticed something strange. My living room chair was pulled away from the table. At first I assumed I had forgotten to push it back before leaving. I shrugged it off. The next day I came home and my TV remote wasn't where I left it. It was sitting on the kitchen counter again. I figured maybe I just distracted that morning. Then on Wednesday, everything changed. I always keep my bedroom door closed. Always. It was just a habit. When I walked inside after work, the bedroom door was wide open. I froze. I stood in the hallway staring at it for nearly a minute. I eventually convinced myself I must have left it open, but something felt wrong. The apartment was too quiet. I checked every room, every closet, even under my bed. Nobody. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, before leaving for work, I decided to test something. I took one of my shoes and placed it directly behind the front door. If someone opened the door, the shoe would move. I locked the apartment and left. 8 hours later, I came home. The shoe was sitting against the wall, almost 3 feet from where I had left it. My heart immediately started racing. Someone had been inside. I grabbed my phone and called the police. 2 officers searched the apartment from top to bottom. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints they could use. Nothing missing. An officer actually asked me, "Are you sure you didn't move it yourself?" I remember feeling embarrassed. Like maybe I really was imagining things, but deep down, I knew. Someone had been inside my apartment. The next day, I bought one of those cheap motion detecting cameras online. Nothing fancy, just enough to record whenever someone walked through my living room. I aimed it directly at my front door. Then I left for work. All day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. When I finally got home, I almost didn't want to check the footage, but I did. I forced myself to. The recording started about 9 in the morning. Nothing happened until 12:43 p.m. The camera activated. I expected to see someone opening the front door. Instead, the living room was completely empty, and then someone slowly walked into frame. From the hallway leading into the bedroom, I actually paused the video because it didn't make any sense. Nobody had opened the front door. The person had already been inside. He walked into my living room, looked directly into the camera, smiled, then calmly walked back toward my bedroom. The recording ended. I felt sick. I called the police immediately. This time, they took it seriously. When they searched my apartment, they found something I never expected. Above my bedroom closet, there was a small access panel leading into the attic space. It wasn't locked, and inside, they found blankets, empty water bottles, food wrappers, and a flashlight. Someone had been living above my apartment, watching me leave every morning, waiting until I was gone, climbing down, walking around my home, then climbing back into the attic before I returned. I moved out that very same weekend. To this day, I double check every apartment I move into because sometimes the person watching you isn't outside, they're already inside. So that was story number 2, guys. Let me know how you felt about it down below. And let's get straight into story 3. The same man every morning. This happened when I was in my last year of college. Every weekday, I walked about 15 minutes from my apartment to campus. It was always the same route, same sidewalks, same coffee shop, same crosswalks. After a while, I started recognizing the regulars. There was an older woman who walked 2 golden retrievers every morning, a guy who rode an electric scooter, a mail carrier who always waved, and then there was one man. I couldn't stop noticing. He looked to be in his late 40s, dark jacket, black baseball cap, gray backpack. I first noticed him because he was standing outside the coffee shop every morning. At first, I assumed he worked nearby, but after about 2 weeks, I realized something. He wasn't just outside the coffee shop. He was always wherever I happened to be. Monday, he was waiting near the crosswalk. Tuesday, he was sitting on a bench halfway through my walk. Wednesday, he was standing outside the library. Different places. Same person. I always watched people walk by. I told myself I was overthinking it until one Friday. I decided to leave 20 minutes earlier than I usually do. I figured if he really was just another commuter, I wouldn't see him. I walked outside, starting heading toward campus, and halfway down the street, there he was, standing outside the same coffee shop, looking directly at me. He smiled and gave a small wave. My stomach dropped. We'd never spoken. How did he know who I was? From that day on, I started changing my route. Every morning, I'd take different streets, different sidewalks, different times. Somehow, he still appeared. Not every day, but enough that I couldn't convince myself it was random. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was an email from my apartment manager. They said someone had stopped by the office asking if I still lived there. The manager refused to tell them anything. They only described him as a middle-aged man wearing a dark jacket. My heart immediately started racing. I asked if they had security cameras. They did. They sent me a still image. The second I opened it, I recognized him. It was the same man. I finally reported everything to the campus security. They told me to call immediately if they ever saw him again. A few days later, I did. He was standing across the street from my apartment, not moving, just watching. Campus police arrived within minutes. They questioned him, but apparently, he claimed he was just waiting for a friend. They had no proof he committed the crime, so they let him leave. I never saw him again after that. About 6 months later, I graduated, moved to another city, started a job. Life finally felt normal again. Then suddenly, one Saturday morning, I was cleaning out an old backpack from college. Tucked into one of my side pockets was a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it. It was a receipt from that same coffee shop. Across the bottom, written in black marker, were 5 words. You changed your route. No name, no date, nothing else. To this day, I have absolutely no idea when it was placed there or how long someone had been close enough to slip into my backpack without me ever noticing. So that was story number 3, guys. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed these stories and want to hear more while we continue building this Minecraft world, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let me know what kind of stories you'd like to hear next. Camping stories, home invasion stories, paranormal stories, or anything else you think would fit the channel. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.